In the late 1800s, the records were not too well kept, as one might imagine, of what was going on in the mines in the United States of America. But even as late as the year 1900, 1,000 men a year died in the mines. All the way through 1945, 1,000 a year. And not only the men dying in the mines, but the men and the women and the children also dying from coal-related diseases and accidents. Between 1900 and 1945, that number was 90,000. Now, you heard in the song about the Breaker Boys. The Breaker Boys were little boys, 6 to 12 years old. Their job was to take big chunks of anthracite coal, which is the hardest coal that comes out of the mountains, and break it up by hand into manageable pieces while they looked for impurities, while they looked for rock and other things that were waste to be thrown away. Enter Mary Harris Jones. She had not meant to become an activist. She was a school teacher and a dressmaker. But the yellow fever had taken her husband and her 4 little kids in 1867. So she moved to Chicago from Memphis, and she started over. She opened a new dress shop. And 4 years later, that dress shop burned down in the Great Chicago Fire. And so, working to rebuild Chicago, she got in with the laborers. She got in with the workers who were laying brick by brick this new city, Chicago, on the ruins of the fire. By 1902, she had been so successful organizing labor unions and leading reform against child labor and worker exploitation that a West Virginia district attorney called her the most dangerous person in America. She was on trial for ignoring an injunction that had forbidden miners to even meet freely. She was known for her dishpan brigades, leading the women folk to the mines, to face up to the sheriffs and the bosses and upset the mules. For the sake of fair labor, for the sake of the dignity of the workers, she dared to challenge the status quo. She dared to flout the system. When the 1900 census revealed that 1/6 of American children under the age of 16 were employed in factories, mills, and mining instead of being in school, Mother Jones went on the march again. She organized the children of the mills and mines in a children's crusade. They marched from Kensington, Pennsylvania, to Oyster Bay, New York, to the front yard of President Theodore Roosevelt. The children were carrying banners that read, "We want to be in school, not the mines." It was 1903. By then, Mary Harris, Mother Jones, was nearing 70 years old and still marching from Philadelphia to Oyster Bay with a throng of children. And she was nowhere near done. For all this action she did, for the sake of the workers, for the sake of children, for the sake of their families, for the sake of fair wages and safe working conditions, she'd been arrested several times, which finally led to her being denounced on the floor of the United States Senate. United States, say it with me, United States Senate. We're going to be saying that a lot in the next few months. United States Senate. She was denounced on the floor of the United States Senate, where a senator called her the grandmother of all agitators. To which she replied, "Oh, sir, I hope I live long enough to be the great-grandmother of all agitators." At the age of 93, she passed away. Still marching, still organizing, still getting arrested. She's buried in the Union Miners Cemetery in Mount Olive, Illinois, alongside the miners she loved and called her boys. On October 11th, 1936, those boys built a memorial at her gravesite. It's made of 80 tons of Minnesota pink granite, hauled out of the earth by those miners she loved. And on the day they placed the memorial, some 50,000 people arrived to celebrate her life and vowed to fight on for fair labor in her name. Today we set off on our new congregational year in this month of September, not only greeting one another in reunion and welcoming the new ones among us, but also looking forward to what we will do with this precious time given to us to once more set our sights on bettering this world, this wounded and weary world, even as we ourselves are so often wounded by it. Oh, and we do have challenges ahead. Even as we move forward, the powers that be fight to hold on to their power. They fight to keep the people on the margins yet at the margins. This is not a new story, Mary Harris, Mother Jones. It's not a new story in our time. Some days it might seem too much to even make one more step in the fight against the old corrupt ways that must pass away, that justice may roll down. Some days it might seem too much to even keep trying, and it is on those days that I remember Mother Jones, who had lost all that was dear to her and set out into the world to make it a better place. And at an age far beyond mine, marching across state lines for the sake of those forgotten. We remember Mother Jones and remember all those who have fought before us for justice, so that we may do our part to fight for it now. Today we launch our monthly theme for September, Vision, to be a people of vision, and our grand theme for the year. This grand theme will color and cover over everything that we do as we plan worship services and projects and parties. Everything that we do will be attuned to this grand theme that will be overarching this entire year. That theme for this year is the way of love. The way of love. Preacher, you say. That sounds too much like hearts and flowers. Really. Now listen, I'm not one to diss hearts and flowers. We all need hearts and flowers sometimes, and if you're in need of hearts and flowers, let us know, and we will make sure you get some. But the kind of love I'm talking about here is different. The way of love I'm talking about here is fierce as Mother Jones. Do you think she fought for the miners' lives for her own sake? No, that was the way of love. You think she went to jail for cutting into the company profits by leading resistance? Oh, that was the way of love. Why do you think that she lobbied for pensions for minors, widows, and children? She would see no benefit from such. That was love, 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 and more love. The kind that seeks justice and makes peace everywhere it goes. The kind of love that we saw this summer at the royal wedding. Wait, what? Now, I'm not a royal watcher in the least, but pondering this morning's conversation together, where our vision and the way of love intersect for the first time this year, I was reminded of the lesson given by Bishop Michael Curry for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle on their wedding day. So I looked it up. I read it again, and I watched it again on YouTube, and I listened in some new ways. And that summer day of their wedding, it had stopped me in my tracks, and it brought me around to the one we're on today. when I listened again. Here's what the Bishop Curry said, in part. This is what love is. Love is not selfish and self-centered. Love can be sacrificial, and in so doing becomes redemptive. And that way of unselfish, sacrificial, redemptive love changes lives. And it can change this world. If you don't believe me, just stop and imagine. Imagine a world where love is the way. Imagine our homes and families where love is the way. Imagine neighborhoods and communities where love is the way. Imagine governments and nations where love is the way. Imagine business and commerce where love is the way. Imagine this tired old world where love is the way. Selfish, sacrificial, redemptive. When love is the way, no child will go to bed hungry ever again in this world. When love is the way, we will let justice roll down like a mighty stream and righteousness like an ever-flowing brook. When love is the way, poverty will become history. When love is the way, the earth will be a sanctuary. When love is the way, we will lay down our swords and shields and study war no more. When love is the way, there's plenty good room. Plenty good room for all of God's children. Because when love is the way, we will actually treat each other like we are actual family. And that, my beloveds, that's a new heaven and a new earth and a new world and a new human family. And now think about this. That was a black bishop preaching the liberating power of love in the house of the colonizers. What kind of love is that? Can you imagine this world if love were the way? Can you feel your heart yearning for it right now, in this moment? You can answer me. Can you feel it in your heart this moment? Can you feel it in your heart this morning, this moment? Yes. Can you feel how sweet it would be? Can you taste it on your tongue? The kind of world this would be where love is the way. Yes. Can you see the world that we dream of, that we talk about building, that we've talked about building for centuries? Can you see what that world might look like if we built with love as the way? Yes. Yes. Can we be a people who reach and who try and who fail and who try and who fail and who try and who fail and get up and try again to live the way of love, as challenging as that might be in ourselves and in the world? Can we be that people? Yes. On this new congregational year, can we join together in a life that is a labor of love? Can we join together in a love so fierce we're dangerous? Dangerous to the status quo. Dangerous to the old order that will keep the people in the margins forever. Dangerous to the voices that perpetuate hate. Dangerous to policies of discrimination and racism. Dangerous to governments who strip babies from their families at the border. Can we be the kind of people who are dangerous? Yes. In this world? May they rise up and say, well, those Unitarian Universalists at River of Grass, they are dangerous. In the name and in the way of love? Can we be dangerous like Mother Jones? Can we face up to the status quo, to corporate power, to the systems of white supremacy that cause us all to suffer, in case you haven't waked up to that fact yet? Best of all, can we be the kind of people who are not afraid to stand up and be counted, even when our yard signs get taken out of our yard or vandalized? Even when somebody hollers out their window because we have a sticker on our car that says love wins. Can we be that kind of dangerous people? Can we show up no matter what? And can we be the kind of people who upset the mules? Can we be a kind of people that upset the mules? Yes. Can we be a kind of people that upset the mules? Yes. We shall not be moved. Let us sing together.